and happy Halloween.
Trick or treat, everybody. It's Halloween. And so this is me and Miss Cammy. Well, it's my favorite holiday, at least.
It's a pretty good one. It's up there. It's in my top 3 for sure.
Yeah, so we thought, of course, we would read all kinds of spooky kind of stories for you today. So if you have a costume, awesome. You can totally put it on for story time. You can share a picture with us. We'd love to see it. That would be so great. But yeah, go ahead and maybe get some sweet treats from your trick-or-treat bowl and enjoy this edition of Virtual Storytime. Bye.
I'm going to read you a story called Click, Clack, Boo. All right, let's see what happens for their Halloween story. Farmer Brown does not like Halloween. Oh my goodness. Didn't think there was anybody who didn't like Halloween. Witches give him nightmares. Oh no! Pirates give him shivers. Jack-o'-lanterns flicker spooky shadows on the wall. Farmer Brown leaves a bowl of candy on the porch. He puts a do not disturb sign. He draws the shades and locks the doors. But in the barn, the Halloween party has just begun. Oh, look at all their costumes. My goodness, they're gonna have a good party. There is a crunch, crunch, crunching as the mice scurry across the field. Oh, they're all dressed like princesses. That looks so pretty. There is a creak, creak, creaking as the sheep slowly push open the barn door. Do you know what a sheep sounds like? What do they say? They say, bah! There is a tap, tap, tapping, and the cows go to the window to let the cats in. What does a cow say? Do they say, moo? Farmer Brown does not like the sounds of Halloween night. He checks the lock on the door. He peeks through the window. There is a dark creature standing underneath the trees. Farmer Brown runs to his room. He pulls on his pajamas and he climbs under the covers. He hears the crunch, crunch, crunching of leafy footsteps heading toward the house. Who is it? There is a creak, creak, creaking of the old boards on the front porch. Then the tap, tap, tapping on the front door. Who does that look like? Who do you think's at the door? Farmer Brown pulls the covers up tight. Oh my goodness, he hears a quack, quack, quackle in the crisp night air. Wait, who says quack, quack? What do you think? Quackle! Farmer Brown jumps out of bed. The porch is empty and the candy bowl is gone. There's a note on Farmer Brown's door. Halloween party at the barn. Farmer Brown runs to the barn. There is a creak, creak, creaking on the old floorboards of the front porch and the crunch, crunch, crunching of leafy footsteps heading toward the barn. He's running in his pajamas. There is a tap, tap, tapping on the window. Oh, he can see their party from outside. And look who won the best costume. It's the duck. Happy Halloween. The end.
And since I am dressed as a skeleton this Halloween, I'm going to read you a book called Skelly, the Skeleton Girl. My name is Skelly. I'm a skeleton girl. This is my house high on a hill. I found a bone lying on my floor. I asked my fish if it was his. No, the bone's not mine. I asked my bat as we went for a stroll. No, he said, does it belong to you? Look, she's flying her bat on a string. Could it be a bone from me? No, it wasn't mine. X-ray shows all of her bones are there. I tickled the monster under the stairs and he started to laugh. I knew he still had his funny bone. I asked my man-eating plants. No, my dear, we wouldn't eat that. I asked the ghosts who came to tea if it belonged to them. Honey, we have no bones. We lost those long ago. What does a ghost say? They go, ooh. I asked the spider who lives next door if it could be his. No, my dear, simply put, we spiders don't have bones. I checked my dolls from head to toe. They hadn't lost a stitch. This bony search was making me hungry. I went to the kitchen for a piece of cake. That's when I heard a noise outside my window. I ran past my fish, past my bat, past my monster, past my man-eating plants, into the garden. I peeked around the topiary hedge to see what the noise could be. What is that? What do you think it is? Does this belong to you? Oh, it looks like maybe it does. I found the owner of the bone, and I found a new friend, too. The end.
Rudy and his best friend Ralph were two rowdy young roosters. They weren't loud on purpose, but there was so much to crow about. Each tried to be the first and the loudest to crow at sunrise every morning.
Then they had contests all day long to decide who was the strongest, or the biggest, or the loudest. Finally, at sundown, they wrestled each other for the highest roost in the barn. Most of the other farm animals didn't mind the racket. They were rather noisy themselves and barely noticed Rudy and Ralph.
The only ones who complained were Sophie the pig and Clarissa the cow. I need peace and quiet to make milk, Clarissa mooed. But Clarissa, Rudy said, you give milk every day, no matter how loud we are. You're keeping me awake every night, Sophie grunted. I need my beauty sleep. Can't argue with that one, Ralph whispered to Rudy.
It was 2 days before Halloween, time to make costumes for the Halloween poultry parade. This caused even more than the usual commotion. I'm losing my patience with this uproar, Clarissa bellowed. Me too, snorted Sophie, and the two of them went off in a huff. What old grumps, Ralph said. They can't remember what it's like to have fun. I bet they were never young at all.
Rudy felt bad about bothering Clarissa and Sophie. He tried to be quiet the whole next day, but when the animals gathered in the barn that night to finish their Halloween costumes, he got caught up in the excitement and added his voice to the squawking.
Suddenly, a huge figure rose up in the far corner of the barn, its head almost touching the highest roost. Rudy had never seen a creature so tall. The monster let out a moan as it lurched forward. The animals tumbled out of the barn in a flurry of feathers. They ran until they reached the top of the hill. Clarissa and Sophie were the slowest runners and the last to arrive, both out of breath. "What was that thing?" Rudy asked. "It was the ghost. The Poultrygeist," Clarissa gasped. "The legend says the Poultrygeist has been sleeping for 100 years, whispered Sophie. "I'm afraid you woke it up with your noise." Nobody dared go back into the barn that night.
When the sun rose the next morning, Rudy and Ralph held each other's beaks closed to keep from crowing. It wasn't easy. "Did you see that?" Rudy asked when Ralph finally let go of his beak. "The sun came up without us crowing it into the sky." "Don't tell anybody," Ralph said. "We'll be out of a job."
everybody stayed out of the barn all day. They even held the Halloween poultry parade outside, which was fun because the costumes looked scarier in the dark. But as the night went on, it got colder and colder. One by one, the shivering animals slipped back inside the haunted barn.
Ralph and Rudy were the last ones left outside. My drumsticks have turned into popsicles, Rudy said, his beak chattering. Let's go in. Inside the barn, the only sound was snoring. There was no sign of the poultrygeist. Let's pick our roosts. Only 2 left. Ralph scanned the rafters, looking for the poultrygeist. You take the high roost. I'll use this low one, next to the exit. The door.
No, you should have the highest roost, Ralph. After all, you're taller than me. I am not, Ralph yelled. Look, you're slouching, Rudy shouted. Ralph drooped his feathers. You should have the top roost because you're much handsomer than me. No, I'm ugly, Rudy crowed. Look, get up on the top roost, Ralph hollered. No, you get up there, Rudy screeched. The 2 roosters rolled around the floor, feathers flying, when suddenly a shadow fell over them. A very tall shadow.
Boo! Howled the poultrygeist. There was a great flapping and squawking as the animals fled to safety, but Ralph and Rudy were trapped in a corner. Yikes! This is it, buddy, Ralph cried. We're going to that big roost in the sky. Don't give up, we can escape. Rudy grabbed his friend and tried to run around the poultrygeist, but instead the 2 roosters smacked right into it, and it didn't feel all clammy and ghost-like. Instead, it felt like...
Feed sacks, Rudy cried. The poultrygeist is nothing but a bunch of feed sacks all sewn together. Can't be! But Ralph gave a tug on the sacks, and there stood Sophie and Clarissa. Boo! Clarissa mooed, her eyes closed. Enough with the ghost talk, Sophie said. We've been unmasked.
Awesome Halloween costume, Ralph said. You sure had us fooled. They weren't fooling, Rudy said. They wanted to scare us into being quiet. Bingo, said Sophie. What gave you the first clue? I don't get it, Ralph said. I was trying hard to be quiet. Not hard enough, said Clarissa. Later, when the 2 roosters were alone, Ralph said, I wasn't really afraid of the poultrygeist, you know. Are you kidding? Rudy squawked. You were so scared you almost choked on your own gizzard. I did not. Did too. Did not. Did too.
Said Sophie. There's more than one way to quiet a pair of rowdy roosters. So she sat on both of them, and the 2 rowdy roosters remembered that lesson for a long time.
The end. I hope you guys really enjoyed those sort of spooky Halloween stories and the puppet show.
Yes, and we will have a craft for you also. So you can go ahead and watch the instruction video for that tomorrow, or come by the library and gather up the supplies that you need. We can do that in person or via curbside. So thank you so much for watching. Have a safe and happy Halloween, and we will see you next time. Bye!